Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the November 27th, 2024 Astrophotography SIG. Without further ado, hope everyone's been getting their telescope out and taking pictures of those clouds.
Such variation.
Yeah.
But I did want to start off this meeting. I was on vacation for a while, so I haven't done a lot of work myself, and I'm not allowed to take my telescope on vacation with me.
Are you allowed to do processing on vacation?
Yeah, if I do it when everyone else is asleep.
Maybe you should have left a telescope there that you can control.
You can sneak up there. Yeah.
Kind of brutal. You go down to clear skies and you can't take your telescope.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
But I thought I'd start off with seeing if anyone's been doing anything. We got a couple of posts I had put, but like to see if anyone else has been able to gather anything. I think you've got a few things, Dan. You know,
I don't think I do. The last thing I think I did was the Tadpole Galaxy all the way back in August.
oh, okay. Then I thought I'd put it out there. Ask the question of how people are sharing their images, or what do they have planned to share their images, and see how that's looking out. I put my images on our Zenfolio site, and I put them on Astrobin. So if anyone's been curious about what Astrobin is about, I'd be happy to give a tour. I've got a little trick that you might be interested in on PixInsight that I'll take a couple of minutes to show a little later. But to start off, does anyone have any images they would like to share?
I've got one little thing. This is my my annual calendar that, I don't know if you can see any of that I put together for that's terrible.
Yeah, just pull back a little bit. Oh, right there.
Right there. Anyway, I do this calendar every year for all my grandkids and kids. So that's anyway.
Is it easy for you to unblur your screen, Ron?
Pardon?
Is it easy for you to unblur your screen, your
I don't know
camera?
how to.
It's under video effects if you can find the gear. I don't know where the gear is in this Zoom workplace. I don't know where that is anymore.
It should be in his little dot in his corner.
Oh, okay.
I thought I could just hold it there and you'd be able to see it, but
You can also just
Anyway.
go to the camera, click on the camera, and we'll have it there.
On the lower left, there's the
Oh, there it
where
is.
says
There it is.
video. You click on the video and there's
There's
blur
a
my
little
background.
There's a little hat right beside the video thing. If you press on that, it gives you a bunch of settings.
Oh, it just shuts off the video. Am I doing the wrong thing?
Like
Press
that.
Yeah, just go to the right of
up arrow.
that. There's a little arrow pointing up.
Oh, okay. And then it says, oh, I see. Unclick blur my background.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
There you go.
Oh, look at that.
Oh,
Thank you.
anyway, so
Now we can
that's a
see
bit
it.
better.
Yeah, there you go.
No, this is what I do to get oohs and ahs from all of my grandkids every year.
Nice.
So this year was a bit of a challenge because we've had such lousy weather that I barely managed to put together 12 or 13 images.
Yeah.
Just turn the ones upside down from last year.
I think since July I've managed 2 images.
Wow. Yeah. Well, the fall certainly hasn't been good.
What I think I saw a star last night.
You are all sweet for trying to make me feel better.
It was a terrible year for all of us, Dan.
But I did on the plane. It was nighttime coming into Vancouver, and I usually keep the windows closed, but I opened the window and took a look out, and we were flying above the clouds, and it was unbelievably dark sky. We were still over the water, and Orion was just framed exactly in the window, and it was just
Nice.
absolutely stunning.
Wow.
And I tried as hard as I could to see nebulosity, but when I tried to put my eyes right up to the glass, of course it would steam up the window, but it was spectacular.
Nice.
Did anyone get Joe's calendar?
I did.
Yeah, I just picked
Yeah.
up three of them. One goes to my biggest fan, my mom. Keep one for myself.
Does he have a few, does he have a few left?
I don't know.
I think Joe did a limited run. He had to see if there was enough to do another run. I think he has to do a minimum number.
Yeah. So Ronald, is it expensive? Did you print it yourself or did you?
I use the same calendar company that Joe goes to.
Oh,
Yeah,
And
okay.
Vistaprint.
I think,
Vistaprint, yeah.
but he got a better deal because he orders more frequently. He got calendars like for $9.95 or something.
Wow.
Mine with a better quality paper were $25 a piece, just about. So
Yeah,
Wow.
that's really cool. I'm sure your grandkids appreciate that.
oh yeah, not bad for an old fart.
Yeah.
That's my line these days.
What you have to do to command respect.
You have to grow old.
At least, Ron, you're probably happy of what you're seeing up on Mount Washington coming down.
Yeah, I'm looking forward. Once you turn 75 here on Vancouver Island, you get a free super senior pass for the mountain. So I
Yeah.
haven't got mine this year yet, but
My dad did that up until he was 86, and then he had to pack it up.
Well, what's this tradition here?
it's even Whistler. I haven't been there in a couple of years, but I got a season's pass for $175 last time I got one.
Yeah.
And now they're like 3,000, so it's a good deal.
Is that a ski pass or?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah. A pass for the mountains, unlimited pass.
So Ron, how do you manage to still have knees by the time you get to be your age?
Because I snowboard, I don't ski.
Well, I snowboard too, and I snowboard too, and it's still very hard on your knees though. You know, yeah. My bone doctor says you can either give up skiing and tennis or get new knees. So take your choice.
Well, I have a standing deal. I've got just over 4 years to go, but all of my granddaughters are going to go snowboarding with me on my 85th birthday. So that's one of my goals.
There you go. So just while we're on the topic, this is about stars, not snowboards, but I have a whole snowboarding outfit that free to anybody that wants it. It's a good board, boots, size 12, 11 and a half. So
I went snowboarding once and I found it was hard on the back of my head.
yeah, you have to stick with it for 2 days, and then
You have to
you'll be,
duck.
So I went back to skis.
I had a guy working for me that drove me crazy because I love skiing. And about 30 years ago, he drove me so crazy, I signed up for a 3-day adult-only camp up at Whistler. And 2 weeks later, I've never skied again. I just love snowboarding.
it's good, all right. It's good.
Mm.
It's a different experience, especially in deep snow.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's call for pictures because I'm going to show mine then.
I wish I had any.
Now,
Yeah.
I'll have some in a year, I'm hoping. That's the plan.
Well, I don't have any new ones, but I do have a fair bit of data left over, so it's really time to process them.
Are these new processes?
Yeah, they're new it's
Okay.
August data. But maybe I will see if I can pull it up.
Well, when you're running 13 scopes at the same time, that's pretty easy to do.
I run 2, maybe 3.
Maybe.
And you could run 2 too, Ron.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, share. That's sharing? No. Is that sharing?
Nope.
Not
No.
yet.
Oh, here we go. Back up this. So this is the Cave Nebula. If you were wondering. I had taken the Cave Nebula a long time ago, but I took it again. And I took it 2 ways this time. One through narrowband filters. And when I zoom over, this was one taken with RGB filters. And you can, it's funny the different view you get and what springs out and what fades to the background based on the 2 images. So this is the RGB data, and you can see a lot of the reflections in this prominence out here. There's a star making a lot of reflections out here. And you can see a lot of halos too around the stars. So you can see that there's material all around here that the stars are shining through and creating their own halos.
So David, is that a thing or is that a filter artifact? Because you often see it as artifacts.
Yeah, you can see it as artifacts, but this is actually reflections off of this material, because you can see in some of the stars will reflect and some of them won't reflect. So that's a good indication it's not a lens or a filter thing, or all the stars would reflect the same sort of way. And you don't get, when I go to the narrowband, this is kind of an HSO palette, but you don't, the reflections all disappear because there's hardly any of the reflections that get past the narrowband filters. You see there's a little bit at this star down here. I have to move off of it to show it. But I'm not going to go through the whole thing. But what I'm trying to do with the last series, my recent series, is get into the nitty-gritty of star formation and how it happens. And I've been reading a lot of papers and doing a lot of my own research and leaning on a lot of my own background in fluid mechanics and thermodynamics to come up with a story. And I won't put you through the story, but I would encourage you to read how it's actually a lot of it has to do with viscosity and fluid mechanics. And we were talking about this the other night, Gary, at the Astro Cafe a week ago or so. But this is Andromeda Galaxy, of course, but you can see there's certain parts of the dust lanes where the flow actually becomes turbulent think of white caps on the sea or something. The flow actually becomes generates eddies and things, and that's where we get these hydrogen alpha areas and a lot of stars forming in this spiral, the spiral arms that are really, that's where the high density hydrogen and dust particles really are. And I tried to explain in different images how the dust actually cools the hydrogen and takes it down to very low temperatures. And we can't see into the dark nebula that the dust forms because visible light can't penetrate it. But longer wavelength light can get in and, more importantly, get out from the middle of those clouds. So it's protected from the warmth of shorter wave radiation, but the internals can be cooled because microwave and radio waves can escape from the cloud, and that makes the whole ring ultra cool. And that heat is sent out into deep space. So I did show an image of the dark nebula and tried to explain how this cooling and contraction occurs. But with this diagram, I was taking it a step further because I wanted to talk about all these eddies and all this chaotic flow that you see. And to some extent, the dust that you see as dark nebula goes more or less where the hydrogen goes, but not exactly where the hydrogen goes. And there's reasons for that. But if you think of all these eddies and at different scales, the deeper you go, you see more eddies on eddies. And this is the net effect of all this is to highly concentrate at certain points both the dust and the hydrogen gas, and because the normal densities that you would find in these clouds is very, very rarefied. So it's hard without this concentration effect to actually bring these materials together to actually form the nucleus of a new star. And there's a lot of physicists done simulations on this, and a lot of really interesting work that I'll be showing in some later images as in the explanations as to how you can get points where the concentration is high enough and the temperature of the hydrogen is cold enough that the dust particles can come together with the hydrogen forming a bonding agent, if you will, like a glue, holding these dust particles together to create a big enough mass that it can start its gravitational influence and start then gravitationally bringing in more hydrogen to actually form a protostar. So that's the very high level explanation as to what's going on. But this is a little kick I've been on and trying to explain what it is that we're looking at. And in this case, it's all these eddies and stuff. So what you're looking at here is my Astrobin account. And Astrobin is a container, basically, with a lot of people submitting their images just for storage and display. And this is available. You can pull it up on your phone. You can pull it up on a tablet. So you can pull it up you have to have internet access to get it, is the one drawback to it. But basically this shows all my history at making images right to the very beginning when I was just getting started.
So David, this is a pay service.
This is it's a pay service. So what it costs is there's free, if you make an account, you can have a free account and you can upload 10 images. I'm not sure if that's a year. And you can go to Astrophotography and look at other people's images, which is very powerful too. But there's you can see the different subscription programs. I'm in this ultimate one where I can search in unlimited downloads, but you know, most people are in this premium one. It depends on how many images you want to put up on here, but you know, it's all putting an image in is very menu driven. You basically just drag the file onto the website and drag the file onto the website. That's not what I want to show. Oh, with this button here, just put your file in here, and then it sends you through a menu where you can add, like take an image and edit it. I say edit this image. You tell it what you want. There's very little that's required, but you can put a title. In this description, you can write as much as you want. You can embed other images. You can do all sorts of things in here. You can say what collaborators you used and all that sort of thing. You say a few simple things. Where did you take it? What the data source was, what the subject matter is. You provide a thumbnail. You can say who's allowed to, you can put your own little watermark on there. You can say what equipment you used. You don't have to put this in, but other photographers sometimes appreciate it. You put what filters and accessories and what software you used. And then I kind of simplify what sessions. I just spread what days I took images and how many of each filter I used. And I spread it around the days, because people are interested in that. And then who can download it, and you know, you can do the hover effects. You can also put videos into here. You don't have to put still images. You can put videos if you want, or GIFs, or whatever you want. And then you save it. Didn't mean to do that, but I didn't change anything, I don't think.
Just as a point of comparison for other people, a Zenfolio subscription is actually very similarly priced. It might be marginally cheaper, but not much, maybe by about $10. And it's kind of limitless. This one seems to be tailored for astrophotography, whereas Zenfolio isn't. So there's obviously some advantages. So Dave, you also use this as your archive in a way, your offsite archive, right?
It's my offsite archive. But the other thing is you can put your image out there. You can keep it for yourself, or you can put your image out there, and others, it goes on a board. Right? So this is the current board for Astrophotography. So these are images that others have downloaded. So you can go through and take a closer look if you want. You can look at them and see things, and sometimes you get ideas. Oh, I'd like to take an image of that. Or you can see, well, here's mine right there, but you can say, okay, you can do things like, well, find images in the same area. So I say, look around 1 degree of this. And I know Cave Nebula is popular, so I know there'll be a bunch. But you get a bunch of other people's take on the same thing. And sometimes otherwise you can say, okay, search for M48. I picked a random number. So if you, oh, it happened. Click here to search. Why aren't you working?
Do you need to leave a space in between M and 48 or?
Here we go.
Oh, quick search.
So if you say M48, you're interested in taking a picture of it.
Hmm.
Well, I picked the wrong. It's spectacular, but you can see other people's pictures of the same thing. So if you're thinking of taking pictures, you can get a sense of how other people framed it. If you click on a particular image you like, you can see, oh, what did they take it with? What equipment did they take that with? Or you can actually search. If you've got a Celestron C8, you can go back and say, oh, okay, you can say Celestron C8. And you can see, oh, here's images people have taken with the Celestron C8. Right? Any equipment, any filters, if you're looking, like Dan and I talked a little bit about telescopes on the market, you can say, okay, show me images taken with this telescope that I'm thinking of buying, and show me images with maybe your alternative, and you can look at them and make a
And you can
comparison.
kind of do it when you're using just Google and trying to get your way in, but it's not a very precise search. So a lot of the time, some of the things I was looking at turned out to be the guide scope or one scope out of 50 or something else on a multi-telescope
Yeah,
project.
yeah.
So you can
Which is
also-
where the paid service gives you an advantage of being able to
Yeah, so
actually
you
be
can keep
precise.
Yeah,
you can keep adding keywords and get more and more restrictive
right.
searches, I
Okay.
guess.
So you're relying, well, the other thing that happens is in here you get, if you go through these bulletin boards, you start to see people's images that you like. And if you say, oh, I think that guy's images, I like another one, you can go to his site, say him, and you can say, oh, here's the images he's put together. You know, I like them, and you can follow him. And then whenever he posts a new image, you can see his images. So there's kind of a back and forth. You kind of get like a subset of people that you follow that you want to see more of their images, and other
So
people.
you can kind of make your own custom playlists, I guess. Like
Yeah,
you could follow a bunch of photographers or a particular
yeah,
image or something like
or
that.
particular equipment, or
Yeah.
you know, and there's the full messaging. There's also a forum on there where you know, people kind of like Cloudy Nights, but it's a little better because people want to either post there saying, I don't know how to do this, can you explain how to do that, or this or that to me? Or people say, I'm having trouble here, why is this not turning out for me? And people will post there. And so that's one of the ways I share on Zenfolio, I share on Astrobin. And the other way I've started sharing is with what I've got for my own use. Is I had a whole bunch of credit card points that just kept mounting up because I pay for everything with my credit card, and they give me these points. And finally, I went to the where you can spend them, and I got this. I haven't got it yet, but it's called a Samsung Frame, and it's like a monitor TV thing, but it's really meant for showing artwork. And so I'm going to plonk it into my office here on the wall and run my images. I've also got underwater images that I used to take, and I'll be just setting up a thing that, and it comes on automatically when you walk into the room, apparently, and so you can have it going in the background. My original plan was to make some prints, but that looks like a lot of work in getting your prints to, and I mentioned this to Dave at the start, but it's a lot of work in getting your prints to look right on paper versus on your monitor. A lot of calibrations and things you need to do. And of course, what caught my eye was, I don't know if you've ever seen these images printed on aluminum. They really make prints, photographs come alive when they print them on the aluminum. But for a reasonably sized print, it's hundreds of dollars just for what. So, I like to share my images, and we heard from Ron, a good way is to get your grandkids calendars. But I was curious how others might be sharing, or other thoughts as to, and maybe as a group, how can we promote getting our images out there? How can we bring people to the Zenfolio sites to see what we do?
I was going to say about the frame there, David, that that'd be a good thing for outreach too.
I was thinking the same thing.
It doesn't look like it's very cheap. I just looked it up. Well, maybe it's not that bad. Maybe it's not that bad.
It's cheaper than a television.
3,500 Canadian. That's what I see.
I've
For
got
an,
some small
for an
ones
80
playing
for an
around,
85 inch.
Oh, yeah, I didn't get an 85 inch.
That's pretty
Okay.
By the way, my new 65-inch monitor, your pictures are just absolutely stunning with the OLED TV that I just bought.
Oh, yeah,
Actually, it's 65 inches, Ken. You're sitting too close.
It's very immersive.
yeah.
So
I'd
are
love to
you,
have a monitor like that.
are you using it for a monitor too, Ken?
Yep.
Is that right, huh?
I can't wait to start processing with it. I just set it up today.
So
Wow.
what's the resolution? Is it the equivalent of like 2 monitors or?
It's OLED. The exact resolution on it, I'm not sure, but it's
Is it a 4K machine or not?
yes.
Okay, so it's 4 regular monitors there, David.
Oh, so you don't have to have the space on your table except for the one big thing. And it's seamless.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you done Call of Duty?
Say again?
Have you done Call of Duty?
good.
I think you need a decent graphics card for that.
Yeah, to drive it, you need something special.
But for Call of Duty as well.
I'm lost when it comes to games.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm still sharing, aren't I?
right.
While I'm sharing, do you want to see this trick that I've been playing with on PixInsight? Or have you had enough of this?
No, go ahead.
So the guy I did the GHS stuff with, he wrote this image blend script. And pull it up. And it's right here. It shows a nice preview. But if you notice in Photoshop, there's all these blending rules that you can do to two images. And he's actually put that with this script. He's put that into PixInsight.
So the standard things like screen and different kinds of blends are
Yeah,
in
so
this tool.
If
Okay.
if hopefully you can see the screen, is it big enough?
Mhm.
Yeah, I see it.
If you see this blend mode down here, these are all the
Oh, they look
same
like, oh,
blend-
that's
Yeah,
complete.
that's all the
they're all
usual
the blend
suspects.
modes.
You never have to leave PixInsight.
Yeah.
I guess that's the idea, eh?
Well, I took this image. Let me just say no view for now. And this down here is SH2 135, but it's an attempt at showing more of the eddies and stuff that's taken in the molecular clouds. But so I've selected this image as a base image, and this is basically after I've done in Starless, of course, where I've done all my processing, and I put it back together again. And I purposely, because I knew I was going to use this tool, I left it a little dark. But then what you can do is you can load it in here. You're allowed to do a little bit of like the standard stretch in here to brighten it or whatever, but that's just the standard stretch.
But that's only for one layer. Now you're obviously going to spec other layers now, right? To do the blend?
Yeah, you can do other layers to do a blend, and that's cool. But what I wanted to show you, it's called the Orton effect. One of the systems called the Orton effect.
Yeah.
But I'm just going to load the same image as a blend image. And what you can do, I'm just going to do the normal standard screen, which is adding two images together.
So these aren't not two different images, but the same image.
This is the same image.
Okay.
So when I just do a screen blend on it,
Yeah.
right, you can see what that basically does. It just basically enhances, it sort of just enhances the brightness of the image.
I think it lifts midtones. I can't remember the exact definition, but
Yeah, it lists the midtones more
yeah.
than the darks and more than the brights. So but what you'll see is it also enhances all the flaws in this image. This was a very starry image. You can see there's a lot of flecks in here that was left from the star removal, but you can do, oh, sorry, I should have left that there. So that's when I just blend the image with itself. It seems to stand out a little bit more. It adds a bit of life to it, but I purposely left the original image dark, so it shouldn't be a surprise. But a couple of things you can do. There's a couple of things you can do here. What you can do is make the blend image various opacity. So if I set it to 0 opacity, I basically get the original image back again. But and I can go to full opacity, which brings, as we said before. And the other slider I can do is I can blur the second image. And this can give it like a 3D effect. It does blur the image a little bit, but if you apply the right amount of blur and the right amount of opacity, you can play with it and it starts to make the image. I can show you with the preview on. It really, it softens the image and it gives it a little bit of glow at the same time. And that's that Orton glow thing I was talking about. But you can also play with this blend mode down here. And the other blend mode I found really nice is this one down here called soft light. All the equations for these different things can be found in the literature of how it blends the images. But this soft light I found was just fantastic, especially if I brighten up the original image a little bit. And I blur the second one. Maybe that's too much. And then I play with the opacity. I get this richness to the image that really didn't exist in what I would have otherwise thought was my final result. So I just wanted to show this little trick. I'll be posting this image in the next few days whenever I get the explanation written out, what I want to describe. But if you go to the was it Cosmic Photons website, or if you search for Cosmic Photons, that'll give you the resource where the scripts are that you can load into Pixite, or you can take this into Affinity Photo or Photoshop and do this kind of things with your images. If you're a Photoshop guy, you probably this might be old hat to you, but it's with this script, I think you can get the best of both worlds, what PixInsight processing has to offer, as well as some of this blending that can occur.
Yeah, this seems to be more of kind of like a visual tool. Like I know in Photoshop, like before PixInsight, when people had a lot of noise in their sensors, they would split the channels and fuzz the blue, for instance. The blue channel was notoriously bad. So they often would just keep everything sharp, like keep all the other channels sharp, and just take the blue because it had the most noise. And they would do a small Gaussian blur on it, just to smooth it,
Okay.
smooth it,
Blend it
and then they
back
put
in.
it back together, and you would never know. It just looks
Yeah.
noiseless.
I'm sure there's hundreds of these techniques.
Yeah.
And you mentioned small artifacts.
But
You could get a layer with the small artifacts and just fuzz those,
yeah,
right? And get rid of them.
but I mean it's kind of circular, because then you can create a new image with that. So say I was happy with that. Of course, and this script can then use to put your stars back in too. So if I just take that test image, I could do more work on here. Maybe I want to do I don't know what vivid light would do.
So before this, how would you put your stars back in? Just with a bunch of layers and just merge them?
With a
Merge the
pixel
layers?
math screen blend.
Okay.
So I would just write it into pixel math, but I won't do that anymore. I'll just load in my stars and check this back to screen. Oops. No, that wasn't it. My stars. Oh, here we go.
You're starting to see some.
I gotta set everything with opacity to 0.
Ah, there we go.
There we go. And there's
So
my,
you can adjust
there's
to
my,
taste, right?
yeah, like if I want the stars brighter,
Yeah.
I can expand them a little bit,
Yeah.
right?
Cyril has a star recomposition window that actually has two. You've got basically it creates the stack, but it actually controls the stars and the background using GHS. So you have two different
Oh,
GHS
okay.
interfaces. And so you're basically doing GHS on both at the same time and sort of blending them.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So do they have these blend modes as well?
It doesn't have the sort of standard Photoshoppy blend modes. But
Yeah.
it's in the recomposite. It's got pixel math that you can do, but it's
Yeah.
got but this particular star recomposition one is quite nice because it gives you open the two images and you can play with basically the parameters of each of them to
Mhm.
blend them together really nicely. And
So it's actually designed for that function then.
But you know, if they've got that together, it would be easy to put all these other blend modes in. Because they're just
yeah, for
they're
sure.
just simple formulas, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
But anyways, thought I'd just show that in case you were interested.
David, when you're adding the two images or blending the two images, they have to be registered, do they?
Yes, yes. So right at the beginning of the process, you register. Are you thinking of your Comet images, Reg?
Well, I was thinking about things that are kind of more dynamic like that, and you might want to compare a couple of uh, images and overlay them and see what happens. I tried to do that actually, and with no success. So this is
Yeah.
interesting to me.
If you're trying to do it with Comet images, there's a trick to it, right? Because you can't align on the stars and the comet at the same time.
Yeah, you have to do them separately.
Right. For these deep sky, everything you do all your alignment right at the beginning. So everything's always aligned. And some people crop at the beginning, but then you have to make sure you crop everything.
Yeah.
So that it stays aligned. So I generally crop at the very end.
Yeah, you don't mind having the junk on the edges, right?
Yeah, no, yeah, you just ignore it. Mhm.
Now, is there a cost for this script, or is it?
No,
Yeah.
I just downloaded it. It's free.
Yeah, it's free.
That's interesting.
But if you go to the Cosmic Photons site, all the scripts he's written are just great.
How does Mike make any money?
He doesn't. He's retired.
Oh, he just does it for fun?
He just does it for fun.
Oh,
Nice.
okay.
He's an ex-programmer guy, right? So
And he still wants to program, in other words.
yeah, what takes me like a month, he does in a day. So that's that. But there are other guys. SETI Astro has a whole bunch of cool scripts that I've been using. There's a few scripts out there. If you want, maybe next meeting I can go over where these scripts exist, and usually there's YouTube videos on how to use them and what people think of them and that sort of.
Has Mike taken the time to do videos and write documentation for his stuff, or do you have to just play with them?
More, he's like he started off with myself in GHS, right? So he sort of familiarized himself with the PixInsight language, which was basically Java, and then he wrote in C, C++, which is the native language for the processors. And then he collaborated with a guy named Bill Blanchard, because Bill had a whole bunch of utilities to do star shrinking and that sort of thing. So Bill would put out the videos, and Mike would work in the background doing the programming.
Hmm.
And then he did this blend one on his own, I think, because he noticed that, hey, these formulas are pretty simple. I can just do this and fix Insight. And a lot of people were asking, well, why can't we blend like that easily? Instead of going to pixel math, you could always do it. So what Mike's been good at is taking these awkward pixel math expressions and turning them into usable things. And then there's a color mapper script, and Adam Block came out with this other way of doing narrowband other than the Hubble palette. And Mike worked with him on that. But again, Mike did all the bells and whistles and the programming. And then Adam Block made the videos of it.
That where he does sort of a who pellet, then adds the sulfur in afterwards.
Yeah. And that's how I did that image I was showing you a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
Made an HOO palette. Then I used Bill Blanchen's normalization, but you can treat it however you want.
Yeah.
Then you take the sulfur data and which is a monochrome image, and you colorize it. So you make it whatever color you want, and I make it yellow. And then I blend that in with the HOO image to get your 3-color.
You don't do it through pixel math, you do it through blend, do you?
I do it through blend now. I used to do those things with pixel math, but it's much more fun using a script than.
Oh, good, I don't have to learn pixel math. SETI Astro has some incredible programs, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's got some good ones. I
Yeah.
just refresh my memory. What do I use of his? He's got this blemish blaster that I've used a couple of times. It's a bit awkward to use, but if you've got one part of your image or a couple of parts that obviously have some artifact in them, you can circle it, and it uses not AI, but you'd swear it was using AI, and it somehow does its averaging, so it just totally disappears using a nearest neighbor approach. So
Yeah, the latest release of Photoshop has started using AI, and they do have something called distractions, which is kind of similar to that. Like it will take a photograph with very complex like overhead wires and completely remove it. Completely. Like
right.
I don't know how they do it,
Yeah.
except that they're guessing as to what to put in. But it's called distractions, and you just circle in general the area, and then it takes care of
Yeah.
it for you.
But
I have a
one
question
thing that
about-
SETI Astro has put out that I use, I just love it, because if you frame your image, if you solve your image, so plate solve your image, and he's got something that what's in my image. So it's actually a very simple script, but it goes to the database. What is it?
Gaia?
Not SETI.
Gaia, or
Gaia,
well,
maybe?
there's the one in France. I can't remember the name
It's
of
the
it,
all
but
singing, all dancing one.
okay.
That'd be Gaia, wouldn't it?
Yeah, there's one in France, there's one in Strasbourg, and there's a Gaia one, and there's what's the big one? not
Gaia
Aladdin.
is the big one.
Yeah.
No, Gaia is a subset of
Oh,
this.
this other one. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it is.
But yeah, you can pick out, just say you want to see double stars and it will pick out all the double stars and
Yep.
or whatever you want to see, you can look at it. It's amazing.
This one will have it.
I have a question about AI now, if I can bring it up.
Sure, I'll just give you the name of that. Sinbad.
Oh,
Oh, yeah,
right.
Sinbad.
That's right.
Yeah.
What's
The
it
father
called?
of all
Sinbad.
catalogs.
So it's got all the Gaia data in it. It's got all the missions, all get dumped into this giant Sinbad.
Right.
So you can pick on little things. It'll say, "Oh, this is a young stellar object," something you might have missed in your but just by clicking on it, you go, "Oh, okay, that's a star emerging from that cloud," right? Or that someone's thought that that's what it is,
Yeah.
right? That's what it's interpreted to be.
Yeah.
But you can have loads of fun.
Yeah. Well,
with
I always liked it
what's
because
in the image.
when I find out like a distorted thing, like what looks like a distorted star, I can just find out, oh, that's a double. Well, of course it looks like that, right?
Yeah, yeah,
You can tell right away. You say that's okay. Should look like that.
yeah.
I went through SETI Astro. I think it was had one on adding Spitzer data to your image.
Yep. Yeah.
And so you can add the infrared data to your image through Sinbad and stuff like that.
Oh, to your image.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
just pulls it. Okay.
Well,
yeah.
well, what you get is a circle on your image. And of course, because you're not looking at a infrared image, it'll just be a circle, and the label will be infrared source. But it's interesting to know, even though you can't see it, there's an infrared source right there. Right?
I just have a question. Could I use Sinbad to remove the stars for serial? Because I've tried to do some stacking with my comets that I took in October. And just before, because the comet is moving from the beginning to the end of the sequence, I have to do the comet tracking. So would it be the way for me to removing the stars and then stack the comet and then to reapply the stars after? Is it the way it is done?
Well, I guess people have different techniques. Is what I would take is the stars out of all your comet images and then stack on the comet.
Okay.
And that star removal would be done with AI.
Oh, okay.
So I'd run AI through each of my pre-stacked images, taking the stars out of all of them. So I'm just left with the comet, stack on the comet, process the comet, and then either take one of my comet images and use the stars from that, or use the stars and stack those, and then reference the comet in that stack.
What AI tool do you use? Is it that AI tool in PixInsight, or is it another one?
There is an AI tool. There's a couple of AI tools. There's a free one that works everywhere. It's called, help me, StarNet.
StarNet plus.
StarNet, yeah. And then
StarNet
there's the pay ones. There's Croman's Star Exterminator and
That's the
all
one I
these
use
things.
inside.
Yeah.
But I think that's only in PixInsight.
You mentioned serial though, and in serial you can, if you have a bunch of pictures with the comet or whatever, you can actually do star removal with StarNet through serial, and you can actually apply it to a sequence. So you basically take all of your images for your comet and just as a batch basically star remove them all. Like you'd have to go away for half a day and come back because you're doing like 50 star removals.
Yeah.
They take a few minutes each, but and then you'd have all of your images removed, stars removed, and then you could use the comet align in Cyril to align the comet, and you
Okay,
could
so
also stack your starless, so you get your stars all stacked as a sequence. You could restack just the stars, align and stack your.
Yeah,
comet.
Adam Block actually goes through the technique. That's what he does. He splits them apart, and
Yeah.
then he registers and then stacks each separately, and then he brings them back together.
And if
and
you're
the fact-
doing,
oh,
oh, go
sorry.
ahead.
Is it the fact that my shots are staggered because I didn't have a mount
Tracker,
like a
yeah.
regular tripod, so sometimes
Yeah.
I'd moved my camera. So would it be a problem or no? It would.
No, so there's two alignments you have to go through.
Yeah.
One is to align, so you align basically on the comet nucleus.
Okay, so each frame I have to center the comet, and it would center everything.
It does the registration
Automatically?
for
Okay, cool.
you specify where the nucleus is, and it will use that as the spot. So
In PixInsight, there's a specific process called comet align.
Okay, well,
So-
sorry for those basic questions. I'm gonna take
No,
it.
no,
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 that's
that's
good.
great.
it's a good
That's
question.
great.
And if anybody's doing any of the new batch AI star removals, I figured out how to get the GPUs to do the whatever it's called, the new version of TensorFlow to be able to use the GPU as your compute unit instead of the CPU,
Mhm.
which brings for me my time for like a star removal from something like 5 minutes per frame down to 20 seconds, 10 seconds.
Oh,
So,
okay.
So Dan, I'm thinking of getting a new computer to do this AI star removal stuff. What GPU do you recommend now?
honestly, almost anything that's the 3000 or 4000 series will do it. I think the 5000 series are about to drop for NVIDIA. I would recommend getting NVIDIA at this point because it's way easier to work with than the AMD stuff for any plug and play
Yeah, I heard that.
AI integration. I'm using a beefier one, but it doesn't need to be. I mean, I tested this out on an old 1060 I had from my old computer, and it still paced or did a little bit better than my big 16 core processor for star removal. So
I had Dan help me out, set up mine, and it worked
Okay,
like
well,
a charm.
I'll be approaching you myself.
Yeah,
So I have a
man.
question about AI, if I can ask it. The other day I got something called DxO Photo Lab, which is really good at denoising and stuff like that. It's an AI program, but it competes with Topaz. Yeah, I guess you guys know Topaz.
Yeah, that's what I
So-
use.
Yeah, so they're both good. They're both good, and Lightroom does it too. So depending on the photograph, one works slightly better than the other, but they're all good. So I was dismayed to see, as this one photographer pointed out, that they all make things up.
Yep.
They all make things up.
Mhm.
And one of the, a little of it, it's very subtle stuff, like they all try and recreate the feathers in the underexposed, noisy sections of the bird. And old Juan, who started PixInsight, he's very happy. He's very proud of the fact that PixInsight does not alter the data. So that seems to be not the way it is anymore. Because if you're using AI denoising, you're going to be making stuff up. Yes or no? I'm asking the question.
Absolutely, you're making stuff up. So when you're taking the star out, you can't see what's behind the star, but it's showing you something behind the star. So that has to be made up, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right. So, and if you shrink the star, well, now it's covering less. Even if you put the stars back in, if you shrink the star, it's still showing you something that was behind it before.
Okay, so is it just kind of doing next to pixel kind of stuff like with the bird feathers? It's actually drawing lines to look like bird feathers, which I think is kind of crossing the line, quite frankly. But how about with this stuff? Is it just like, how is it, what the stuff that's adding, is it legitimate? Is it legitimately close to be allowed, do you think?
Yeah. So there's various degrees of making things up, right? Like you used to say.
Yes, you're right.
Yes, Donald.
Even interpolation is making something up, right?
Yeah.
You don't know that. So an extrapolation is worse. And then so very simply, if for star removal, the AI just makes a decision as to, first it makes a decision based on its training, whether a certain blob of brightness is a star or not.
Yeah.
Right? And it does that by its symmetry, it does that by the way the brightness tails off, and it does so that's one form of AI that it does. And then it says, okay, well, based on this formula for what a star should look like, if I took this out, what would be left over? Because that's kind of what should be there if I put a star on top of it. But that's kind of that's more making something up, right? And the same with the denoising. It's kind of saying, well, this is noise, that's not noise. It's making those decisions, right? It might be a real thing.
I think, to me, I think the secret is being subtle.
Yeah.
If it's over the top, you can tell, right?
Yeah, you can. Totally.
Yeah, and if you think about it, when Photoshop released Healing Brush, I didn't think anything of it. I mean, if you had a tiny little dust speck from your sensor,
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, fair
what
enough.
would stop you from removing it? You would remove it, right?
Yeah.
Now if it's data, I question that. Like I've never, like, for instance, artifacts that come from filters, I don't remove them. They're part of what happened when I took the picture, right? So I choose not to touch them. But that's just a choice, right?
Yeah. So I guess, David, for you, where you're kind of getting, David Payne, when you're kind of getting into the scientific aspects, you have to be careful about whether you use AI, because they can all of a sudden claim that your pictures aren't real.
Well, a science image, you're not allowed to touch it, period.
Yeah, period.
No.
Now, it's interesting in the photography world, a lot of people now, a lot of professional photographers have to avoid using anything with AI, or else they can't enter them in any competition, because
That's
immediately it adds a tag in your
Yeah.
all the data saying this has been AI processed.
Yeah. Well, I will put a plug in for deconvolution, because I do have a history with deconvolution, and that is a valid scientific.
So you consider that a corrective measure of movement, right?
That's used in signal processing
Yeah.
all the time. And I'm talking about for money-making decisions. So
yeah.
it's not making up. But then
Well,
you get to AI deconvolution, because deconvolution is very hard to be done right. And so that there's AI deconvolution, which is the blur exterminator, right? Everyone just loves what it does to its images, but it's called AI deconvolution. So then I'm stuck with, okay, I know deconvolution is a valid thing to do to your data, and I know AI is really not a valid thing to do to your data. So what is AI deconvolution?
it's in the middle, Dave. It's in the middle.
It's
It's just about pregnant. You're not pregnant, but you're just about pregnant.
But different strokes for different folks. What do you like? There's some people out there on Astrophotography, if you go, like, they're just artists, right? And I enjoy some of their images. Some of them I don't, but a lot of them I really like. But I know they're not trying to be as accurate, and they're trying to do some sort of abstract thing with their image. But that doesn't mean they're not good images. They're just
for sure.
Mhm. I think as long as you're not trying to deceive anybody, I think that's the important thing.
Yeah.
Like if I've ever done anything in photography and I know it's a composite, I just say it's a composite, right? I don't try to make people think I did it for real or that it's reality, right? And I think that's where I draw the line. If I'm trying to fool somebody, then that's not right. You don't do that.
Yeah, good. Yeah, good.
Well, those images of the black holes, right? Those famous images of the black holes. And then you read in a magazine, oh, some guy's come out and he said, oh, they got it totally wrong. It's much more oblong than they showed in
Mhm.
those images, right? And then this whole thing comes out, and you go, that's really interesting. But the image itself sucks, right? Like you wouldn't put
Mhm.
that on your wall unless
Yeah.
it went with
But
it's
but
a
you
black
know,
hole, right?
If
The
I
whole
took
thing
it,
that
I
makes it
would, let me
interesting
tell
is
you,
that
if
it's
I
a
took
black
it.
hole.
have you heard the background of what happened before they released the photo? They were sworn to secrecy because
Yeah,
they
yeah,
were passing around images from different people with different techniques or whatever, right? Because they weren't sure what it looked like. They wanted confirmation, so they
No,
wanted to see it in
they
different ways, right?
they had various teams working
Yes,
on it
Yeah.
that weren't allowed to communicate.
right.
And at the end, they all came together and said, well, here's our image, and here's our image, and here's our image. And because they were all pretty close, they said, well, this must be the
Exactly.
thing.
Exactly.
well, there you go, yeah,
Yeah. Well, it's a valid approach.
It
Yeah.
is.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's best effort is as long as you're doing the best effort. You know, you're not trying, like David said, you're not trying to fool anyone.
Yeah,
You're
for
just
sure.
Well, some
Cool.
Japanese disagreed with them quite heavily, didn't they?
Yeah. That was interesting. But you know, it's so interesting when you get into the nitty gritty, and no one can follow all the stories. But the story I've been following is like, and what got me into this, how the stars are created, is the JWST, which can, with its infrared, can see deeper into the dark clouds. And they're saying, hey, there's way more stars being formed than we thought before. Right. And it, that's really interesting, because I would have thought there would be way more stars than what they were saying before too. So I sort of globbed onto this story, and I've been following it. And we actually had a presentation a few Wednesdays ago down at the university about this. It it's really interesting that, you know, a new instrument or something kind of shakes up what people thought before. And of course it has to be that way, or why are we wasting money on the JWST if we knew it, right?
Yeah, true.
Yeah, right. So speaking of JWST, I know this is a photography thing, but I'm just curious, have they solved the too big, too young galaxy thing?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Is that right?
There's news stories every week about that.
Yeah.
Is that right, huh? Okay.
But that's another one, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know, oh yeah, I know all of our old theories were exactly right. Well, that's boring, isn't it? Right?
Yeah.
Well, these astronomers, I worked alongside them up on the hill. They love to point each other to prove that each other's wrong.
Oh yeah.
That's their whole
That's half
job,
the
is to
fun.
prove someone else is wrong. You know, and you're right.
Yeah.
It's a cutthroat business, boy. Let me tell you. I decided when I went up there that first of all, I wasn't smart enough to be an astronomer, and secondly, even if I did, I didn't want to do it because it's nothing but fighting. It's like a hockey game, you know, where they're boarding each other. Seriously, it's really nasty. Holy smokes!
All going for the grants.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Going for the ground.
I hate to tell you, Gary, but that happens in every discipline.
That's absolutely, yeah. Not so much in engineering. I didn't really run into that in engineering. You know, of course, we had a small engineering company, but maybe in the big engineering companies it does. I don't know.
Well, I know in the oil business it's pretty cutthroat. I don't know anything more competitive than that.
Oh, really? Hmm.
Well,
I
in
guess
between engineering firms, it can get pretty cutthroat too,
Yeah.
looking for the same jobs.
Yeah. Well, I guess that I led a sheltered life then, I guess.
Nice.
You're too Canadian. You're too nice.
Yeah, you're right. Well, as a matter of fact, when I sold my engineering company, the guy said to me, we're the only Canadian engineering company that's actually done well to sell. So we were in an anomaly. So I'm very thankful to be that anomaly and not had to do the board checking stuff and all that kind of stuff.
Very nice. I gotta go.
Oh, thanks, Brock.
Have a good night. Thanks.
Yep.
Yeah, good night.
Good night, Brock.
Nay,
Yeah, I have a question for you guys.
Brock.
Remember that guy out in Langford? What's his name? That
Guy in Langford.
that shows up here every once in a while.
Guy in Langford.
Bruce or
You're not talking about Bill.
Not
Bill's
Bill
friend?
Weir.
Bill's
Bill's
friend
friend.
that built all his stuff?
Yeah, the guy that built all his own stuff. He's kind of a big guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
I don't
yeah, I don't know what happened to him.
I
he
can't
was-
remember his name.
I think he was here last month.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was. He was. I just can't remember his name.
Oh, it was last month's recorded?
Yes.
Okay. So where can I find the recordings?
Should be on YouTube.
On the Rask YouTube.
Okay, good. I'll look him up there.
You're trying to find an address for him, or
I've got
Yeah,
his
yeah.
name in my email if that would help.
yeah, I think I probably have his email as well.
I have to-
Could you guys send it to me if you have it, please? I'd appreciate it.
Sure.
Good.
How's your stuff coming, Gary?
Your planning.
Me? Talking to me?
Yeah.
Oh, so the preliminary design on the foundations and the rails and the observatory building itself is kind of done. This Saturday, I'm going out and I'm going to start shooting some elevations to find the exact spot to put it, so that I have to put it slightly sideways on the hill to get it not to have huge piers. I can't put it directly north and south or east and west, so that's what I have to figure out. So it's going to be a bit risky the first time I roll the observatory off to see if the scopes actually make it, because I can't put them tucked. I won't be able to park them exactly the way I did before.
Are you going to have to level with stilts or anything like that? Or?
There's going to be
okay.
everything's going to be a piling, and on top of the piling is a I-beam, and on top of the I-beam is an angle iron. Then the whole thing rolls on these wheels that have the little notch out of them. You know?
Okay.
Yeah, that I've done that before. So
and you have to sink the pier in a suitable spot, right?
Yeah, right. The pier's got to be in the right spot, and the good news is, though, the reason I'm so excited is because the whole place is actually rock. They got at the top of this vineyard, so he just brought in soil to cover the rock. So now I have maybe 6 inches of soil to go through until I'm on top of bedrock. So it's going to be solid, and it'd be pretty easy to put the piers in. So that's all going to be good.
Do you have to get somebody in to drill a hole or something in the
No, I
rock?
can do that. I can do
Oh, okay.
that. Yeah. So that's why I say it's going to be a year before I'm taking pictures. A lot of work.
Are you hand drilling? No.
Well, yeah, you get. I'm hand drilling with a very good drill. I'm borrowing from a bunch of builder friends. All I have to do is the 16 piles. Some of them are this big, and some of them are 2 feet tall. They all have to have a piece of ready rod into the rock. And if you got a good drill, you can do that in like 2 minutes if you got a decent hammer drill. So that's not a problem. So that's how it's going. I'm excited. I'm excited with the site. I went up there the other day, and I have beautiful views all the way from the northwest right around to just about east.
So is it quite a different view from the one that I saw?
Oh yeah, no, it's very, very similar, David, except it's farther over to the left, so it's a bit better view. That we're quite a ways farther from the
So it's
tree.
away from the school. Was it a school that was in front of us, or
No, it's the same site where you were, but about 100 feet to the left.
to the left? Okay.
Yeah, so
Well, it still should be good. I mean,
it's going to be good. It's going to be great. It's going to be great.
yeah. But you're out from under the trees, right? You're away from the
correct.
trees?
Out
Yeah.
from under the trees. That's correct.
Mhm.
Yeah, so it's all good.
So you're going to start out a farm there where we can all send our scopes?
Well, as a matter of fact,
We just got to make the building big enough.
as a matter of fact, if this goes well, that did occur to me. It did occur to me because there's plenty of room there for that. Now, the only thing you'll have to do is power everything with solar panels, like I'm going to be doing. Which is easy peasy to do anyhow.
So
And
you're not bringing any power down. You're going to have storage cells.
Yeah, and
solar?
that's easy. That's easy. And all you do there is you have a little wee generator. You're going to be connected all the time to the internet. And I'm going to be saying, I've got this, and you'd appreciate this, David Lee. Not Arduino, but the latest thing, the EMC 32 or whatever it is.
ESP32.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. Which I learned from CJ the other night. it's very, very low power, and your antenna stays awake, right, CJ?
Oh yeah, yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah,
And you
it's
know there's so much stuff like I've been playing with RPI 5 lately. That thing runs really really well. It runs a little hot, but it doesn't matter in an observatory, right?
Yeah.
But the new boards, they were making compute boards, which are the equivalent of the Raspberry Pi. Now the compute board is what they stick inside the ASI Air. So they were all designed with compute boards. So in other words, it's basically a Raspberry Pi minus all the ports. So it's just the compute board. That's why they call it a compute module. So people had built all sorts of industrial instruments out of these things. I can see why. It's great. It
Yeah.
runs Linux
So
and
actually,
it
you
works.
can use
CJ,
StarNet
tell
or
them how
something?
you program one of these EMC whatever boards it is.
well, I I was a pretty lousy programmer. I was more into hardware, so now I program with ChatGPT. I just tell ChatGPT what I want.
Did you hear that?
And I just copy and paste and do that until it works.
You talk to Chat GPT, and it programs this little device for you. So
Oh yeah.
I'll be using that. I'll be getting a little piece, two PCs to mount on each scope. I mean, a PC to mount on each scope, of course,
Yeah.
to run the programs. But then CJ can show me how to do other stuff I need to do. Like there's
So
gonna be
Gary, you'll be interested in this. I got the SkyX onto a Pi. I
Oh, no
haven't
kidding.
attached it to anything, but I've got SkyX on a Pi right now.
Really?
Today. Yep.
Holy smokes.
So we'll try it when we install the new computer. I'd like to try that just as a backup. I mean, it's not a great image capture thing, but
Yeah.
I'm hoping to have a backup for a PC at the VCO because you're kind of dead in the water unless you have SkyX.
Yeah.
So this SkyX thing is on a $120 computer, right?
Do you mind if I share a couple of websites that I found with some material?
No, that'd be good.
Okay, so the first one that I have, it's a company out of Spain that does a hat for Raspberry Pi 5, and it's
Yeah.
a Skycam. I don't know if you've heard about it.
Yeah, I've seen this one too.
Yeah, so it has some port control for
Yeah.
the servo motor. And the other one, oh, let me see where I have my.
So is that a camera in the middle?
Well, wait.
It's a fan. It's a fan.
Yeah,
And
it's a. Oh, just wait a minute. I lost my. Oh, I get the.
What does this device do?
It's just a. It does observatory control, camera control, servo motor control. You can control the filter wheels and everything. And the other one that I have, it's this one. That's one of those ESP32. And this one's got the 4G, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, GPS, camera, all on board for $42.
For $42, like come on.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's an ASI Air basically.
Well, not really. This one, not really. The one that you saw before is closer to it, but it's based on Pi 5, which is their recent machine. So a Pi 5 is 2 to 3 times faster than a Pi 4, which
Yeah.
was the current one before, right? So this one's got I know that's a 5 because the Broadcom chip is right where that fan is. They have to cool it. It's quite hot. I actually burned my finger
Okay.
the other day when I was working with it because I just wanted to touch it to see how hot it was.
So a Pi
It's hot.
4 is fanless, but a Pi 5 has a fan.
Yeah, the Pi 5 is
does.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, in a cold environment, you may not even need it. And in fact, I've seen passive coolers. They're basically just giant fins that go on the top of it. And it's
Right.
totally passive. There's no fan. It just dissipates the heat through the top like a radiator.
So CJ, it says here this is the single board solution for an all sky camera. So do you just connect the camera to this thing or what?
Probably could because you get the ports. So what kind of a connect? Because you have
Well, this is a Pi 5.
That's a Pi 5. So it's a computer on itself. So
Oh,
you
yeah.
get the HDMI for your screen. You get the RG45 for your network. You get your USB for whatever device
Yep.
you have.
So it's got a pair of 3s and a pair of USB 2s.
Yeah.
It's got two HDMI ports, and it's got a USB-C for power. So
And-
it runs a PD. So it'll run 5 amps actually.
And the
Oh, wow.
interesting thing about those Raspberry is they have all kind of industrial protocol like IC2 that are actually data transfer protocol specialized for industrial applications. So you can pretty much control whatever you want with it.
Mhm.
So it's a like a computer with a little bit of versatility.
Is that USB-C port? Is that power or is that?
It's power.
Yeah.
It actually, this particular model respects PD, which means it's more than 5 volts. You can have a set of scaled voltages
Right.
based on the PD protocol.
Cool.
That's for 150,
So you
170.
could run it on 12 volts.
I've got a hat that actually converts from 12 down to 5, but you don't have to do it that way. Yeah, they make really cheap converters like
Yeah.
for cars that go from 12 down to 5.
Right.
Yeah, so there you go.
I'm gonna need to drop off too here. We had the observatory for Saturday night, but the weather does not look promising. Reg might have more
Oh,
insight than I do on this, but I'm doubtful.
He doesn't want to disappoint us.
Good for you for doing it though, Daniel. Like,
Reg, swing the hammer, break our hearts. Or
yeah.
give us good hope. Maybe I've read it all wrong.
your microphone's off, Reg.
You're on mute, Reg.
Mute.
Uh,
Reg, you
maybe
need
it's
to unmute your mic.
Maybe it's really bad news.
Oh, okay, guys. No, I'm gonna hold off on any reckless predictions for Saturday night at this stage.
So, CJ, I don't
That's
know if
out
you
of
know about this.
character.
CJ, you may not know about this, but every once in a while we have access to the old big telescope on the hill.
Oh, okay.
And this Saturday night, Dan is maybe going to be going up there, and you're entitled to go up there because you're on the active observers list. It's very interesting if you've never been there before.
Okay. The thing is, I already planned my weekend. I'm going to Vancouver.
Okay, no
So-
worries.
Well,
Good news is, CJ, I don't think you have to feel bad this weekend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So it happens regularly?
I've got to actually put in a request for next quarter, but I was going to put in for 2 nights because David suggested that the shutdown is going to go ahead as usual. I think the 20th, 2nd or something through to the new year. So I might put one in for January 6th and then one more for sometime in March to get some spring
Okay.
galaxies.
So,
And then I'll apply for the next quarter after that. But the last one we did was robotic because I just couldn't lose a night of sleep over the summer.
okay.
We have 2 opportunities a year, right, Dan?
No, I
Or
I
more.
mean they entertain me if I ask for 2 a quarter, but I tend to look at what's going on and how many failures there have been. And so if there have been a lot of failures, I request less to make sure that the scientific programs go ahead.
Mhm.
And then if everything's good and there have been no issues, I request more and usually get it.
So CJ, we're one of not too many clubs around the world that have access to a big scope like that.
Oh, I bet. I'm thrilled to hear that.
So
Yeah.
could you use the Pi 5 to run an election?
To rig it.
You have to ask Elon.
I'm just trying to help you out, Dan.
Yeah, I put the links in the chat for the Raspberry and the ESP32.
And the
Perfect.
last thing that just might be of interest, Takahashi has a 25% off sale on some things, but included are the field flatteners for the TOA 130. So if there was any interest in anything new needed up there for the hill,
So where's a
It's a
good
good time.
place to buy that?
I did Astronomy Plus out of Quebec.
Okay.
Oh, is it a manufacturer's deal?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
So
Actually, does anybody know what's going to happen after the tariffs? Is it going to affect Astro Gear?
Not if you buy it from China, will it?
I guess you could.
I'm kind of wondering what
Anyway, that was just the last piece. If anybody's interested, it's not all their stuff, but
To myself, because I'm buying a bunch of stuff for my observatory.
Did you say Astrotech? Yeah.
Astronomy Plus is where I went.
Astronomy Plus, that's what you said.
Yeah, they're in
Quebec.
Quebec. Quebec,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it looked like because they're in Quebec, it might be lower tax, which I wasn't expecting, but I
Yeah.
asked him about it and he said he was sure.
So I wonder how Chris Gaynor would feel about us buying something that's on sale for the Takahashi, because I know that Randy absolutely had no interest in buying any more gear for us.
We just got the new computer. This isn't a good time to
Fair point. Fair point. Yep, context. I was not thinking about that. So anyway, it might come back around, but there's a new flattener out that's also quite nice for that telescope for the pixel pitch on our current camera up there.
There you go.
So getting back to the weather, the 84-hour forecast from this morning has cloud at 4 p.m. on Saturday evening. So it might not be ideal.
Said very dispassionately.
That checks out. Reg, you will break our hearts again another day, I'm sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But when you get good data, Reg, you can take credit for it. Okay, you know there's got to be pros and cons here.
It'll probably save me 4 hours driving anyway.
Oh, there you go. That's a plus.
Plus, there you go.
Well, thank you all. Good to see you, and I'm going to take off.
Yeah,
Good
same.
night.
Gotta go.
Good night.
And
Okay, see you later.
So anyone for any more?
I just like to say that I thought the discussion, although it wasn't all photography, was really interesting tonight about the validity of data that's scientific, but it's being tainted with artificial intelligence is a pretty hot topic these days. So that was great to have. I enjoyed
Yeah.
it. Thanks very much.
All I know is that in photometric workflows, the word AI is not part of any of the calibration frames. So
Well, I'll just add one little bit. It's who does the training and what data set do they use to do the training? So if you say, I want this AI to make my images look good, then someone's got to tell the AI, these are the images that look good. But that is a subjective parameter, right? So the AI will try and make the images look good to the person who said, these images, what you're training on, look good. Does that make any sense?
yeah. You know, I'm wondering if there's going to be a day where we're all going to train our own stuff, right? I mean, it's quite possible, right? We could train on our own images, right? And make images of ourselves, of our technique, right?
So I heard of this question and answer thing that you can go on. Someone's put together and you answer a whole bunch of personality questions and your history of, what you took in school and where did you work and all this stuff. and it compiles this into an AI. And then you can have a discussion with yourself.
I don't know.
I wonder how bad it would pick on you.
Oh yeah, and do you like to lose? Maybe you
Sure.
don't. You both don't like to lose, right?
It sounds like it'd be an interesting conversation. So.
Not with me, it wouldn't. A confusing one.
I have enough trouble trying to figure out whether I should feel guilty if I run Blur Exterminator twice on an image. So
He does it with no guilt now, easily.
Hey, that looks good.
No, anyways, what a weird world.
Yeah, the other thing I was curious about was what the new AI chips, like a lot of the chips are coming out, they already have neural network processing in them, like the next gen do. And I don't know how that's going to change or shape things. Like they're going to be tensor capable, which means that they're going to run like what takes a long time in terms of AI is going to not take so long. They even have them for Raspberry Pis, like for the RPI 5 right now. They make a AI neural net hat for it for $150, which is about the same price as the Pi itself. So for, I don't know, $250, you've got a little AI processor.
Wow.
I was watching the latest Nova program a week or so ago, and they were talking about these new qubit processors. That conversation was a mile above my head. Couldn't figure out what they were talking about.
I watched that as well, and I was equally confused.
But it sounds pretty fantastic.
Yeah. Well, the quantum computing too is I don't know if they'll ever figure it out, but
Well, I the stuff I saw, the quantum computer looked pretty. It was all gold. It looked really nice. I'll leave
They've
it at
got one
that.
working at a university back east, don't they? Eastern
they,
United
they,
States.
yeah, very, very small,
Very rudimentary, yeah.
very rudimentary. It's the error checking is the big issue.
Yeah.
Physicists are trying to figure out.
Garbage in, garbage out.
Well, they'll just do what most people do. You have multiple machines and they vote, right? To get the solution.
Yeah, it kind of doesn't work that way with quantum.
Yeah, I guess not for that, but
Okay, is there anything for anyone else? Hopefully this session has been enjoyable.
It's been fun.
That's good.
Is there going to be a session at the end of after Christmas? It's kind of a murky time around there with
oh yeah, I
auction days and
all
stuff like that.
all the SIGs probably should decide whether they're going to take a break or not.
Yeah,
We had one last year.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy to hold one, I think. Oh, it's actually on
It's close.
Christmas Day.
Does it fall? Does it fall on
It's
Christmas?
right on Christmas Day.
Oh, okay.
So
all right.
maybe we'll pass.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then we'll be meeting in maybe late January.
I'll be vacationing in sunny Regina.
Mm,
You're so
Nice.
lucky.
Have fun.
It might indeed be sunny though.
It could be, yeah.
Well, I may have a couple of images processed by then.
Have you been going down to Kettle Point at all in the last little while, Ken? Or
Been cloudy.
well, I mean, outside of the cloud.
I mean, some of mine, I need more data, but I got about 21 different images I can process, but I've been having a few problems, so.
Did you get your C8 fully running now?
No.
Okay.
No,
more work in progress.
Yeah, just focusing it now, then we're all, we should be happening.
Hey Ken, how do you take a flat with your Hyperstar, or does it even matter, or do you just use AI to?
I started to use that Red Cat.
Yeah.
So I just took the Hyperstar off.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was really impressed with what I was coming up with the Red Cat, you know.
You bought the new one, right? The faster Red Cat?
No, no,
Or you got the
well,
older one?
I've had them for a few years, right?
Oh, okay, you got the older one.
It's very that this new smaller ultra portable Red Cat. It's very interesting because it's the first time I've ever seen this advertised on a telescope. They come out and say, you know, our telescope, the stars will suck. And they say that right up front. They say
Yeah.
our stars won't be round, they will be terrible. But you can correct it with AI. So nothing lost. And they even show examples. If you look it up, they'll even show examples of here's what the image looked like out of the telescope, and this is after we fixed the stars using AI. Look, it's great. It's as good as what you get with other telescopes that are more expensive or bigger. Right?
So maybe we shouldn't buy their telescope. We'll just use our own bad scopes and correct them.
Not good for science, Dave, not good for science.
It's good for Blur Exterminator, though. The sales will go up.
Yeah, I remember the ad. It's right on the ad. That's what they tell you.
They make no apology for it. They
Yeah.
just say, but it's a small scope. Like you can put that
and it's fast.
And it's fast. So you can put that in your suitcase fairly easy to take somewhere.
Is it below $1,000? Or maybe around 1,000?
Can't remember.
Oh. Because it's spec'd very close to my Borg. I have a 55 f3.9 Borg. And it's small. It's like this big. Really tiny. But it's not, it's more than over 1,000.
I'll look it up for next time.
Okay.
Which does remind me, if you guys want to talk about anything in particular, please just let us know, and you know, maybe I can do some research on it or what have you. That otherwise you're gonna just listen to topics that I pick, right? That's pretty cool.
Well, you've been doing a pretty good job of it, Dave.
That was a good session tonight. But I'm gonna have to say Happy New Year, everyone. We'll see you next year.
Okay, I think we're about to wrap up.
Oh yeah, I got to go too. Anyways,
have to.
good night.
See you
Thank you.
Yeah, good night, everybody.
Everyone.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
very much for everything.